If you love history, traditional arts and skills, and vintage living as much as I do, come join me here at the Homestead, where the conversations are always interesting and educational. I'm glad you're here. Hello and welcome to Willow's Vintage Homestead, where we talk about all manner of old-timey topics. I'm your host, Willa Polson, and with me today is Kia Puckett, and they are a burlesque performer, educator, and producer, and they've done this for 8 years now. And I am really interested to hear about the history of burlesque. Go for it. Let's hear some fascinating information and go.
Oh, right. My name is Kia Puckett. I am known in the burlesque world as Mix Puxaplenty, and I have been voted in the top 50 most influential burlesque figures in the world, as sanctioned by the 21st Century Burlesque magazine for the past 4 years. Burlesque has a really, really rich, long history, and I mean, we're talking all the way back to Victorian era. But I really would like to start with what is burlesque, because a lot of folks are like, "What is it? Did they just take off their clothes? What do they do?"
Yeah,
Burlesque.
absolutely. That's the thing. It's like, what are we doing here on this show?
Yeah, what's happening? So burlesque is an obscured or comical exaggeration, uh, imitation of something. You would see a lot of this in like literary works or dramatic work. It's a parody. Traditionally, burlesque was a type of variety show that was both provocative and comedic. It featured a female chorus group. It featured solo dancers, and sometimes they would have some kind of body and slapstick skits and songs. And yes, sometimes it did feature some striptease acts, but not necessarily. And that kind of is even true today, that burlesque today doesn't necessarily include the striptease element, but it is still very prevalent in burlesque.
Wow, that's already fascinating. I had no idea. I mean, of course, I naturally think of it as, people taking their clothes off. But but apparently no. I mean, that was like a whole thing. And it seems similar in some ways to vaudeville, which is,
Absolutely.
variety show basically. So
Yes.
similarities and differences, because we actually show number three was Robert Bax, a friend of mine who's an expert in stage magic, and he is also talking a lot about vaudeville in that show. So it kind of ties in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit poured into that and a little bit poured into the burlesque. And you even had like drag. You had men impersonating women on stage, you had women impersonating men on stage. So vaudeville, burlesque, and drag performance all were kind of mingling around each other. Your burlesque origins, a lot of folks will point to uh Victorian times, 1830s to about the 1890s. And you had it was really popular to see this Victorian style burlesque in London theaters. Basically, they took well known culture like operas or Shakespeare and they made parody of it, right? So it was really them kind of thumbing their nose at the highbrow who were going to see like these operas and plays and things like that, poor folks couldn't access, but you could access burlesque and see someone
Ah.
else's interpretation of it. They would often use original music, or they would take popular music from the time and then rewrite it with more of a comedic effect. So
Oh,
it's
that's
the
delightful.
original punching up. Burlesque has always been about punching up when they're using kind of those comedic elements.
Oh my God, that's see, that's really interesting right there. And you said 1830s, is that right? Really? That far?
18, yeah, 1830s. I mean, and depending on who you talk to, a lot of folks will even burlesque gets looped into theater a lot too, because a lot of folks have a theater background. They get into burlesque. Not all of them, but a lot of folks do. And so you'll have folks that will even say that like Shakespeare can be considered burlesque. I mean, Shakespeare when they were performing Shakespeare, women weren't allowed on stage. So you had all these men doing drag,
Hmm. Right.
so these, and Shakespeare wrote a lot of comedies. So there was definitely a lot of the slapstick, tongue-in-cheek, double entendre stuff that was happening even in Shakespeare's time that you can see reflected in modern burlesque too.
Interesting. Okay. So if someone were to go to a modern burlesque show, how different would it be from one, say, in the 1890s? What are the differences?
Well, in the 1890s, like so specifically, like when Lydia Thompson and her British blondes came to the US to do burlesque, they kind of did this really sexy variety show. And a lot of people were just like clutching their pearls because they were wearing nude color tights. And so that was
Aha.
like really sexy. Also, all the ladies were dyeing their hair blonde and wearing like bright red lipstick. And so that was considered very close to like prostitution almost, right?
Right. Yeah,
Even
that's a
back
look.
then. Yeah, they're like, whoa, that's really racy in the 68,
Yeah. Oh, heck.
1890s, right?
You couldn't even show your ankles at the beach or something at that point, right? I mean,
No, absolutely not, right? And even like when we had the Chicago World's Fair back in 1893, they were incorporating belly dance was starting to be incorporated into burlesque and vaudeville. And
ah,
so anyone that remotely looked like they had like a little bit of melanation in their skin, they were dubbed an exotic performer. So that's where we
ah,
get exotic dance from, was women that had a little bit more melanation in their skin, or all
right.
the way to, yeah, were being
Kind of
labeled as
the other
exotic
sort of.
dancers. Yeah, they're being othered in exotic
Right.
dancing. So what you see in modern burlesque, the difference is, you're definitely going to see more skin. Some modern day burlesque performers are looking at, their stripper foremothers, for inspiration. So you might see pleasers on stage, which is like a very specific kind of stripper shoe that you'll see like in a strip club. I always tell people that burlesque and stripping that you see like at a strip club, it's like we're related. It's like sisters versus cousins.
Right.
Um, the amount of customer service that the folks that work at a strip club have to provide is not at all what burlesque performers have to provide. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the folks that are performing burlesque on stage now, we don't have to go out and talk to the audience and hold space for them. There's not a 2 drink minimum. Those kinds of things aren't happening. So it's a very different kind of vibe. I would also say that something that's very different in modern day burlesque versus burlesque in the 1890s heading into the early 1900s, there was like a huge pageantry, to it. So people would get like all dressed up to go see a burlesque show. And I live in Seattle, and people don't get dressed up to go see a burlesque show anymore. I'm like, put something nice on, come see the show. Um,
Yeah. People don't get
yeah,
dressed up for anything. It's not just
they
burlesque.
don't get dressed up. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, a really neat thing. Like so 1907, uh for history buffs,
Yes,
you
that's why
have,
we're here.
this is why we're here. So in you have the Ziegfeld Follies were are in full swing in 1907, and so that's where we get like a lot of the chorus line girls, and they're doing all their fan kicks and things like that. At that same time in 1907, you have a performer named Sophie Tucker. She made her very
Ah,
first appearance singing at an amateur night at a vaudeville establishment,
mhm.
and the producers thought the crowd would tease her because she was fat. This woman would later go on to be considered one of the like kind of foremothers of what we call the sing and fling. So they're singing and they're taking off their clothes. So she's kind of the
Ah,
fore mother of that.
there's a term for
Also,
that, sing and
yeah,
fling, okay.
sing and fling, or what's the other term we're using now? I like sing and fling. We're going to stick with sing and fling. I like that term better.
Cool.
And then 1909, Billy Watson branded this group of large, beautiful women to perform in his burlesque musical revival, and he called them the Beef Trust.
What now?
The Beef Trust. So it was a chorus of 30 of the largest women ever seen on stage. So this is in 1909.
I've never heard of this. How have I never heard of this?
The Beef Trust. Yeah, I know. I love this. I'm all about making sure that fat performers of color, that we're digging up this history, making sure folks know that like it wasn't just like thin bodied white folks on stage. We had all kinds of folks on stage. And so we had the Beef Trust. And the Beef Trust comes from it was like a class action case against all of these meat packers
What?
that were like making money off of people. And so
So there's
these folks
actually
got,
beef involved here.
there was actually beef involved. And so Billy Watson saw this in the newspaper, beef trust, under investigation, was just like, that makes such a great name for this burlesque chorus line,
That's
right?
that's my band name now.
Right? It's so good. This is really good. And also, 1917, a former gym teacher from Kentucky, Carrie Fennell, joins the Ziegfeld Follies as a Ziegfeld girl. And this woman would later go on to be what we believe is the first person to do tassel twirling,
Oh, hey,
where
that's a whole
you
thing.
that's a
Yeah.
whole thing. And so she was known for having an educated chest because she could make them spin in opposite directions.
For people now, remember, this is not a visual, this is radio
That's
and
right.
and podcast, so we're talking about, we're talking about what you probably think we're talking about.
Yes. It goes on the front part of your body, and it's usually in a circle shape, and there's long tassels hanging off of it, and you can spin them by using your pectoral muscles to do it. It's pretty great. I've been doing burlesque for 8 years, and I'm still like, I'm not gonna do it. It's still hard for me, but I've seen folks who are well endowed that can do it, and folks who are not well endowed that can do it. It's all about
Amazing.
shoulder control and pectoral muscles. So if you ever
Ah.
get an opportunity to try tassel twirling in your town, do it. It's a lot of fun.
I think
Try
I will personally pass on this because
it.
I suspect there might be others who you know what? I'm just gonna leave that there. Oh my
So
goodness. So now we're up to, okay, 1917, right?
yes. So let's skip forward about a decade.
Okay.
And somewhere in the 1920s now, Mae West mounts
Mhm.
her
Yes.
Broadway play, um, uh, which was called Sex, and was promptly arrested for immorality. This this is also the first time that Gypsy Rose Lee does her first burlesque show in Kansas City, and she kind of develops what we call this kind of like casual humorous style of like that. She's really like bringing this tease aspect into burlesque. And then 1920s to the 1930s, Josephine Baker is on tour in Europe,
Ah, Josephine Baker.
and yes, and is like a roaring success in Paris. Like people are just like enamored with this woman. She is the becomes the first African American woman to appear in film at this time.
Really?
And yes, and she was a spy.
Oh, see, now I saw the Drunk History episode about Mata Hari. See, and it
Yes.
seems like this is a theme now.
Yes. Well, because they get to travel unrestricted.
Mhm.
So yeah, she was a spy, and what she was known for is her controversial and animalistic imagery. She really played into, if y'all are gonna treat me like an exotic, if y'all are gonna treat me like, if you're gonna try to dehumanize me, I'm gonna get to the jump of that punchline,
Ah,
and instead of you laughing at me, I'm gonna make you laugh with me. It is my joke to tell, not yours. And that's something
ah.
that I find extremely empowering and powerful about burlesque. If you're looking at like modern day burlesque, we have a lot of performers of color that do acts that kind of play into like racial stereotypes,
Huh.
but they take ownership of that. They create the joke or the story, and it's not meant for the audience to laugh at them or ridicule them. It's to invite the audience into their world. A
Ah.
performer that's really great with that is Calamity Chang.
Hmm.
Calamity Chang is an Asian performer that has a couple noodles act. I mean, it's an amazing act. It's gorgeous. It's really humorous. The joke is her joke to tell. It's not for anyone else. And I just find that to be really, really powerful. Some folks will tell you, some sources will claim that Betty Boop, the character, the cartoon,
Yeah.
um, was inspired by Josephine Baker, but she was actually based on someone named Esther Jones, also known as Baby Esther, a young black vaudeville singer and dancer.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I've seen controversy. It just keeps going around and around. It's so hard to tell.
Our evidences for this is the fact that there's old video and photo imagery of a woman dressed like Betty Boop who is black before Betty Boop the cartoon existed.
Yeah, I've seen that too. A lot of people are saying it's Helen Kane. that
But
whole boop
we
boop doop thing,
yeah,
but
yeah, we truly believe that it was
Esther
Esther
Jones.
Jones.
Huh,
Yeah, and she performed in the Harlem Jazz Clubs and was a fixture
right.
of that era's entertainment. So
Yeah, and it could be
history
that
has
they
history.
somebody conflated the or combined them into something new. Who knows? But yeah, this is a lot of people don't realize that Esther Jones is probably
Yeah.
the bigger influence on Betty Boop.
And a lot of things have happened. We used to have, there's a performer that went by the name of Little Egypt. She was a belly dancer. But what started to happen was a lot of folks started being called Little Egypt. So now we
Huh.
can't tell who Little Egypt was. It's like, oh, she's kind of tiny and she's doing belly dance. We think that might be Little Egypt. And it's like, nah, that's someone else. But okay. With history, things sometimes get lost to time,
Yeah.
especially when photography wasn't fully happening in all the places and all of that, right?
Right. Well, and before
Um,
film, right? I mean, there was no film at all, or in the
yeah,
what 1800s. So yeah.
yeah. So it's hard to tell. So history now. So we're now into like the 1930s. Josephine Baker is like having a ball in Europe. Does not want to come back to the States. No one
Well, why
blames
would
her.
she, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
she's doing
right.
great there, right? And so in the 1930s, we're getting the Minsky brothers. We're building these beautiful, like burlesque palaces, basically for folks to come and see burlesque in. Sally Rand debuts her signature fan act at the Chicago World's
Ah.
Fair,
The
and so
fan
now we're all
act,
like,
yes. In fact,
fans.
I was gonna ask you about the World's Fair. Yeah, it seems like every World's Fair has this type of entertainment, and sometimes it's exotic, and sometimes it's just straight up burlesque, sometimes it's mixed in with vaudeville.
Yeah. So
So
the little bit of
so
this little bit,
yeah,
like, what
go
can
ahead.
we get away with? Like, what can we
Mhm.
get away with? Because I mean, in New York, Vice started coming down hard burlesque stuff, and so folks were like changing the spelling of burlesque and doing all these
Oh,
different
wow.
things so that they could sneak in these shows and make these things happen. Honestly, one of my favorite episodes of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was whenever they were at the burlesque show that she was doing in New York. Because there's an episode where there's an actual raid at the burlesque venue, and like people are
Right.
trying to sneak her out so she doesn't get arrested because it was a big deal,
Right.
especially in New York. Something else I want to bring up: 1930s to the 1960s. We have this phrase used called shake dancers. Shake dancers. And so shake dancers were also known as shimmy dancers, the hoochie
Mm.
coo girls. This is also where you get the exotics. Sometimes, people are like, oh, we have the savages on stage.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
all, yeah, this whole thing. I would implore people to check out Brown Skin Girl Showgirls.
Okay.
It's an amazing book, and it's all about the shake dancers and the showgirls that were doing this work and who were really closely adjacent to burlesque. Some of them were actually doing burlesque, and it was that book is put together by Leslie Cunningham. She has a personal relationship with the shake dancers and things like that from that era because I believe her it's related to her grandfather and grandmother. So she put
Oh,
together
wow. Okay.
this whole history. There's also a book called The Forbidden City, and
Okay.
this is all about Asian burlesque performers in San Francisco back in the
Oh.
1940s.
Oh.
So for our
Uh,
history people,
right.
yes,
Well,
we
and I'm
got
from San
this.
Francisco, so I immediately am like, "Oh, I wanna read that."
Yes, it's so good. I mean, burlesque is alive and well in San Francisco, for
Oh.
sure. It's still alive and well, and there's a lot of legends of burlesque. So folks that were doing burlesque back in what we call consider the golden era of burlesque, that's now kind of curb-tailing into the 70s. But we have more than a few of them left. Our legends, and those were folks that were like kind of paved the way for what we're doing today. We have Shauna the Black Venus. She is amazing. She was doing burlesque back in the 70s and the 80s,
Hmm.
retired, and is now back on stage. I think she does like 3 or 4 burlesque festivals a year. We fly her
Wow.
out, and she still got it. It's really disturbing how
Oh.
much she still got it. I'm just like,
Oh, oh.
man, I'm gonna hang up my towel. I'm done. She's so good. She's still so
Wow.
good. I'm like, I love it. And some more stuff. Like so back in you have in 1955,
Mhm.
Ginny Lee and 8 other dancers formed the League of Exotic Dancers in Los Angeles. And what they were doing with that was they were striking over the low minimum wage pay that the dancers were receiving in the LA area.
Ah.
Yeah, and then 1957, you have Tempest Storm,
Oh,
who was
yeah.
a very, very popular burlesque performer. She had her chest insured by Lloyd's of London for $1 million.
Nice. $1 million.
$1 million. And then this is, I think, is really important to this is important to me. But Dixie Lee Evans, known as the Marilyn Monroe of burlesque, takes
Mhm.
over an abandoned goat farm in Helmdale, California, filled with burlesque memorabilia collected by retired dancer Ginny Lee. And this begins what we now know as the Exotic World Burlesque Museum.
Oh, there's a
So,
museum. Ooh, I loves me a good
yes,
museum. Where is it?
it's in Las Vegas.
Well, that
Well,
figures.
it was in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, because of everything that's kind of going on in the world right now, it's really hard for museums that
Yeah.
specialize in different things to get funding. And the museum actually had to close their doors this past
No.
July. So
No.
yeah, I know it's heartbreaking. We're hoping that we'll be able to do with the museum, like pop-ups in different cities, so folks can check
Mm.
out the different things until we can find the museum a another permanent home. So definitely check out the Burlesque Hall of Fame
Wow.
museum, and you can support that.
I was gonna
Absolutely,
ask you, is there a website or something where people can help if they wanna do that?
absolutely. Burlesque Hall of Fame Museum. Please support it. It's
Yeah, nice.
They have so much of our history. It's beautiful. And then there's a gap in burlesque history. People are still kind of doing it, but like
Mhm.
in the 60s, 70s, it starts to die down because now people are going to see films. There's strip clubs. I can go see the whole thing. Why would I do this burlesque thing? And so burlesque kind of goes underground. It's still happening, but it's a little more underground, low key. And then in 1993,
Mhm.
these old videos start kind of popping back up of and they're called like stripperama and teaserama and
Huh.
varieties, and this is where the world gets reintroduced to Betty Page,
Ah,
Tempest
Betty
Storm,
Page. Right, right.
yeah, Tempest Storm, and Lily St. Cyr. And so what you see is this kind of rise of like pinup culture
Yeah.
is rising up with burlesque, like this resurgence with burlesque, and you have a lot of women that were doing like derby, like roller
Derby.
skating derby,
Oh, roller
who were
derby.
and this is becoming adjacent to pinup and burlesque, and now we have these derby girls whose their derby names sound like burlesque names are
Mm.
doing burlesque, and so we get the start of the neo burlesque movement
Oh, wow.
is in the early 90s. In
It's
1992,
connected
it is
to
super
so
connected. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, so we're overlapping a little bit. I was gonna say it's connected to so many things. It's connected to dance, roller derby. I would not have guessed that. I
Yeah,
imagine Vegas showgirls go into that somewhere. I mean, yeah, it's a whole
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it picks up on all these things. And 1992 is where Dita Von Teese, frequently dubbed as the Queen of Burlesque in the press, begins performing burlesque in 1992. So this is neo burlesque is its own complete movement. It is history, and it's really funny to think about things happening in the 90s as like part of our history. But I mean, that's what time does. Time is time.
Time is a
Time
thing, yes.
marches on.
Yep.
In 2000, there is a group on Yahoo Groups. This is really dating a lot of folks if y'all remember Yahoo Groups.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the very first national forum for modern day burlesquers pops up on Yahoo Groups, and it's called the Teaserama. And 2 years later, we get the Teaserama convention held in New Orleans. So it's like one of the first, let's bring all these burlesque people together to talk about burlesque in this modern format was
Right.
in 2002. I'll throw in one more like early aught situation. Uh, Miss Dirty Martini, known for her reinvention of the fan dance,
Mhm.
she was crowned Miss Exotic World in 2004. And that was when the competition for Miss Exotic World still happened on the goat farm in Helmdale, California.
With a
So
goat
it's
farm.
outdoors. Outdoors, it's hot, the sun is blaring, the pasties might survive, they might not. And these these women would go out there and write their name on a list, like on a piece of paper, and they would
Yeah.
go until they finished everyone's name. No matter how many names were on that list, they would go until they finished the names. and then they
All
would crown
right.
the winner at the end. Poolside, above ground poolside, at the farm in Helmdale, California. People are sitting in those plastic,
Ew, sticky.
chairs. It's a whole thing. It was an experience. I did not get a chance
Wow.
to be a part of the Helmdale, California goat farm days, but the burlesquers that were there are they have a lot of fond memories of going out there and getting to go into all the trailers and look at all the history just covering the walls
Amazing.
of the performers. So yeah.
We've only got a couple minutes left, and I want to
Yes.
know more about how you got into this and why you got into this.
Oh my gosh. I got into burlesque. I learned about burlesque about 15 years ago. It was like right after I had my son. And I was watching Netflix trying to get him to go to sleep. And I found this amazing documentary. It's called A Wink and a Smile. And it talks a little bit about the history of burlesque, but it also featured a burlesque school based in Seattle, Washington. And that's where I happen to live. And I didn't think that burlesque was necessarily for me, but I enjoyed watching it. So for several years, I'd go and check out a burlesque show every year, and it was so much fun. And finally, I buckled down 8 years ago, this past July, and decided I'll sign up for burlesque classes. And I thought, oh, I'll just scratch that off my bucket list, and then I'll never think about this again. And that is
And
not what has happened.
now it's the bucket. It's the whole
Now
thing.
it's absolutely the bucket. I produced
Nice.
two burlesque shows here in Seattle, two festivals. One of them
Wow.
is called What the Funk. It's an all people of color burlesque festival, and every single act is to funk music.
Oh, all right.
So
Because
it's
yeah, there's it's
really
all
specific.
very well. And you sent me some pictures, one of which I've used for the YouTube card on this one, and the outfits are so elaborate and interesting.
Yes, I
You
the
get to
costuming
dress up.
is it's really fun to dress up. So that's part of it. You get to kind of scratch that in like internalized Barbie girl uh vibe where you're like, someone dress me in a cute outfit and I'll go, I guess, and do the thing. But yeah, and then I've been performing, I've been producing, and then education kind of fell into my lap. So I run a
Wow.
burlesque school in Seattle called Show Them Burlesque Basics. And I am the person that is talking about post neo burlesque. So everyone is always talking about neo burlesque, and I'm like, eras of burlesque, eras of things only last so long. And so I would say that we have moved into a different era of burlesque. So you have
Hmm.
your Victorian burlesque, you have your classic burlesque. We've been in neo burlesque for a long time, and now we're in something different, post neo burlesque.
Huh. So okay, really quickly though, what is that? I have to know before I let you go.
Yes, that's exciting. Post neo burlesque is we're now moving into a even more socially conscious burlesque world where people are bringing not just their artistry and like their talent, but they're bringing in parts of their culture into the burlesque. So we're seeing a lot more indigenous performers stepping forward and
Ah.
bringing a lot of that into their art. In black burlesque, a lot of folks are reaching towards like ancestral African culture and bringing it in. We're
Hmm.
seeing that, yeah. So we're seeing people pour more of the cultural piece into their
Gotcha.
art, and it's really really fascinating and tells an
Yeah.
amazing story.
Well, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I thank you so, so much for being on the show. How can people get a hold of you?
The best place to get a hold of me is on Instagram. You can check out at Pucksaplenty, PucksaPlenty, or you can check out my mini burlesque festivals at What the Funk Fest and at Fat Less Fest Northwest NW.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being with me today, Kia.
No problem. My pleasure.